Hello, hi, g'day. This is Healthy-ish, your almost daily podcast from Body and Soul. I am your host, Felicity Harley. Today we're talking carbs. You know the thing I love about carbs, other than eating them, of course, is the memes. Oh, my favourite is I love you as much as wine and carbs. Just don't tell my husband that one. So to get to the bottom of whether carbs are really as bad as everyone says, I asked clinical nutritionist and Weekend Sunrise regular Sarah Lorenzo to come on and explain it all to us. Now, we keep our Healthy-ish episodes quite short, but if you want to hear today's full interview where Sarah, she talks more about carbs, especially whether low-carb diets are actually worth it. Search for Extra Healthy-ish wherever you get your podcasts. Sarah, welcome to Healthy-ish. Nice to chat to you. We're chatting about carbs today. So firstly, what are carbs exactly?
So carbohydrates are an important food group that need to be included in a healthy diet. They're one of our macronutrients. So our macronutrients are things like fats, protein, carbohydrates, and also our micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. So they're really important in a healthy, balanced diet. But carbohydrates, the role of a carbohydrate is actually to give us an energy source. So that's why they're important in our diet.
And
carbs.
I mean, are they really that bad? I feel like, as we were talking before we jumped on the pod, before we press record, they are demonized. I mean, is a diet rich in carbs bad for our health?
So this is where we have to differentiate what is a carbohydrate. So there's two types of carbohydrates. You've got simple or refined, and then you've got complex carbohydrates. So the simple and refined are things like cakes, biscuits, lollies, they're white pasta, white bread, all of it, lollies, all of those sugary things, they all fall into a carbohydrate, which is a refined carbohydrate. They are the ones that are bad for our health and why carbohydrates get a bad name. They will do things like, obviously, they can excess consumptions of food like that, and even just lots of white bread or 2-minute noodles, all those kind of things will do things like lead to heart disease, obesity, and diabetes. Now, complex carbohydrates are the ones that we need to, and when we talk about healthy carbohydrates, they're the ones we need to include in our diet. That's like brown rice, fruits, vegetables, legumes, those kind of good quality healthy breads. They're the ones that we need to include in a balanced, healthy diet. So that's where people get confused about carbs. But also, the other thing about carbohydrates is when people have had weight loss success in those very popular diets like the keto diet, they are effective for weight loss, which is why people have kind of grouped all of the simple and complex together and just kind of palmed it off all as one, and which is why carbs have been demonized. But yes, so
maybe
that was a
we
roundabout
should,
answer.
Yes, no. So maybe we should almost rename carbs, and talk about simple carbs and complex carbs. I mean, it's why do we just group them all together? Why can't we just pull them apart?
Well, they should be, because I would even, for me, a simple carbohydrate is like a food-like substance. It's something that's been highly processed. People do say that. They say the good carbs and the bad carbs. So people do kind of know that. But if you asked the general person what's a carbohydrate, they wouldn't really know the difference between a simple or a complex. So education of the difference would be very important for the people just generally, because carbohydrates do have a very important role in a healthy diet.
What is that role in a healthy diet? Why do we even need them?
Okay, so other than utilising them as a source of energy, we need them for our gut health. They're so important for our gut health. They're really important for, of course, a healthy bowel function. Also, very important for things like lowering your risk of heart disease. So carbohydrates will regulate that when we have a healthy diet, it will actually regulate our cholesterol levels and help us eliminate excess cholesterol. So excess cholesterol will get dumped into the bowel and be eliminated. And if you don't have enough good quality fiber from a carbohydrate in your bowel, then that will go back into the bloodstream and elevate cholesterol. We also need them to keep our hormones in check. Hormone regulation is really important too. So excess hormones will be moved to the bloodstream, and they will be moved to the bowel to be eliminated. Now, if there's not enough stool, which has got good fibre in it, then you can get hormone dominance, and that can lead to certain conditions which can lead to hormone dominance as well. So it's really important for those two. But also, it says carbohydrates as well that do contain a lot of minerals, for example, and vitamins too. So if you don't have enough carbohydrates in your diet, you can also lead to things like nutritional deficiencies. So we do get a lot. We can get calcium, magnesium. We find a lot of that in fruits and vegetables as well. When I talk about carbohydrates, I'm not just talking about grains. I'm talking about fruits and vegetables too. Dairy becomes is a carbohydrate too, with the lactose in it. So we get the sugars from that. So when you eliminate a lot of those things, you can end up with nutritional deficiencies as well.
So are there any, what do you recommend are the best carbs to include in our diet, the types of foods that we should include on a weekly basis?
So I'm just going to start obviously with my favourite, which is fruit and vegetables, and they play that really important role, and it's that 2 pieces of fruit a day, it's that 5 serves of vegetables a day. Now, it's also complex carbohydrates in the form of grains, but it's understanding serving size. So it's things like brown rice. I love chia, is one of my favourite. Quinoa, I love quinoa. You can get definitely legumes, think like beans and chickpeas. The carbs you can also find in things like nuts. So nuts have a little bit of carbohydrate as well, but also understanding a little bit more about, they're the ones to include, but a little bit further about a carbohydrate, a complex carbohydrate. It's basically it's got a sugar, a starch, and a fibre in it. And it's that fibre that we really need from carbohydrates that do really help with healthy aging and that play a really important role. So that's why I love including those. But they're the main top ones to include. And, of course, dairy as well.
The main go-to.
Dairy every day, so yogurt every day, or a source of yogurt every day. But if you were looking at serving, but it's also coming down to understanding serving sizes too, which is the other interesting one about carbohydrates.
Yeah, well, hey, maybe we'll deal with that in Extra Healthy-ish. That's a good one to delve into. But finally, what about reducing carbs for weight loss? I mean, you've written a book, it comes out in Jan, it's called The 10 by 10 Diet. How do we treat carbs? Well, how do you treat carbs in this diet?
Okay, so the success with weight loss definitely comes with putting the body into a ketogenic diet and a ketogenic state, Now, there's the keto diet that we very commonly and famously know. I'm not referring to that whatsoever. I've created a healthy diet called the 10-10 diet, which also will help the body fat burn. For me, healthy weight loss is not about losing just weight. For me, healthy weight loss is about only taking fat off the body. To take fat off the body and preserve muscle that we love and body fluids, you need to put the body into ketosis. I have done that in a healthy way where in the 10-10 diet, as a nutritionist and a clinical nutritionist, I cannot not let people have fruit. That just, to me, it is fruit. It's got the vitamins and fibre and it's hydrating. That to me is something that is criminal to deprive the body of that kind of thing. So in the 10-10 diet, I still make an allowance for the carbohydrate allowance to sit around 30 to 50 grams a day. So I still have some fruit in there. I pick really high fibre vegetables and fruits like berries every day or strawberries. So I pick certain fruits and vegetables that are a lot higher in fibre and a lot lower in the carbohydrate content, so that they're still. And so other things I bring into the 10-10 as well is obviously lots of fruit and vegetables, but also things like chia seeds. I bring a little bit of those in, so I give that healthy balance. So yes, I've worked out the fine line of having beautiful, delicious, healthy, complex carbohydrates to a point where you can still be in ketosis and still be healthy. So I've found that balance.
Well, it not only sounds exciting, it sounds delicious. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on Healthy-ish.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I loved it. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this chat about carbs as much as I did. If you want to know more about Sarah's book, her new book called 10-10 will be out in January, so I'll put all the links to that in our show notes. But if you want more from Sarah, just make sure you listen to the Extra Healthy-ish podcast with the long extended version of my interview with her. We publish a new episode of Extra Healthy-ish every morning, Monday to Thursday. If you want more info about Body and Soul in general, other podcasts we do, or any awesome health and fitness advice, just log on to bodyandsoul.com.au and join the conversation via Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for listening. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could rate, review and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay healthy-ish.